Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into one of project management's biggest headaches, a problem that quietly sabotages projects and burns out even the best teams. Let's get into it.
It's one of those classic questions, right? If you're using a tool like Jira, you're obviously tracking all the work, but do you actually know where the time is going? I mean, can you pinpoint exactly where a project is getting bogged down? That's what we're going to uncover.
Okay, let's talk about the hidden cost of these delays. Now, the problem isn't that you don't have enough data. Jira is an absolute fire hose of data. The real problem is a lack of visibility. And that gap, that's where guesswork creeps in. It's what leads to that feeling, you might call it status anxiety. You know, that constant need to ping someone and ask, hey, what's the status? Just because you can't see what's really happening.
And this right here, this is the perfect example of that visibility gap. Jira will happily tell you, hey, this task is done. Great. But what it doesn't tell you is the real story behind it. That this done task actually spent 10 agonizing days stuck in QA and got kicked back to the dev teams 3 different times. That's the information you actually need.
And when you can't see that full story, there are some pretty serious consequences. You get these hidden bottlenecks that just kill your timelines. Delivery becomes completely unpredictable. And your team, they're getting burned out from doing the same work over and over. You end up managing based on gut feelings simply because the real data is invisible.
So the big question is, how do you bridge this gap? How can you shine a light on these hidden problems without just piling more administrative busywork onto your team?
Well, this is where a tool like the Time in Status app for Jira comes into play. And I want you to think of it less as just another reporting tool and more like a powerful lens. It takes all that raw data your team is already creating in Jira and focuses it into clear, easy-to-understand insights about your workflow.
Now, I want to be super clear about something, because this is important. This is not about surveillance. This isn't Big Brother watching over your team's shoulder. It's about making the process transparent. The goal here is to find the kinks in the system, not to point fingers at people. It's about asking, where is the work getting stuck, not who is slowing things down.
And getting up and running is designed to be, well, painless. You just find Time and Status by SauceJet on the Atlassian marketplace, hit Try It Free, and you can start getting reports pretty much instantly. And here's the best part. It requires zero, and I mean zero, changes to your team's existing workflow.
Okay, so you've installed it, and now you have this whole new layer of visibility. So what? How do you actually turn all this new data into smarter, faster decisions? Let's break it down.
Let's start with the classic mystery, the task that just disappears into a black hole. You know the one. It sits in a status like in review for what feels like an eternity, and no one's quite sure why.
This is where the Time in Status report is your go-to. It tells you, down to the minute, how long every single issue has spent in every single status. Then, you can use the average time report to zoom out and spot the bigger trends. You can finally get real answers to questions like, is our code review process actually getting better over time? Spotting these patterns is absolutely key to improving your team's velocity.
All right, next up, let's talk about rework. It's that soul-crushing thing that happens when a task you thought was completely finished comes boomeranging right back to your to-do list. It's a massive productivity killer.
For this, reports like status count and transition count are your best friends. They instantly surface any issue that's getting stuck in a loop, bouncing from development to QA and then right back to development again. That is a huge red flag that usually points to something like unclear requirements or a weak definition of done.
And here's a tricky one for any team lead. How do you make sure work is spread out fairly across the team and that no one is getting overloaded without breathing down everyone's necks?
Well, that's exactly what the assignee time report is built for. It gives you a really simple visual snapshot of how much time each person is spending on their work. Again, this isn't about judging performance. It's about proactively spotting who might be overloaded and heading for burnout so you can shift things around before it becomes a real problem.
I love this slide because it just boils it all down so elegantly. You can see how each of these reports isn't just spitting out numbers. It's designed to answer a very specific, very critical question that you, as a team lead, need to be asking. It's all about turning that raw data into real answers.
Of course, none of this matters if the insights are buried in some tool that nobody ever looks at. Let's be honest, if you have to open another tab and log into another system, you're probably not going to do it. So let's see how this gets integrated into your actual daily work.
This is what's so cool about it. Time and Status doesn't make you go somewhere else. It brings the data right to you.
You can get that high-level overview on your main Jira dashboard, you can dive deep into the details on a specific ticket, or you can even see the time data right there on your Kanban or Scrum board. The insights are just there, right where you need them.
So let's bring this all together, because at the end of the day, this is about way more than just charts and numbers. It's really about changing the way your team communicates, and honestly, the way they trust each other.
Imagine a world with fewer of those interruptions. You know, the constant pings and just checking in messages that break everyone's focus. When the data is just there for everyone to see, you can shift the conversation. You stop asking, "What's the status?" and you start asking the much more powerful question, "I see this is stuck. How can we help?"
And this quote right here just nails it. It's not just a reporting tool. It's a strategic lens. When you give your team this kind of visibility, you foster autonomy. You build trust. You can finally prove that the process changes you're making are actually working because you can see the numbers. It empowers everyone to manage their own work better.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. What invisible friction, what hidden bottlenecks or unseen rework loops or silent workload imbalances is holding your team back right now? Because with the right lens, you can finally make all of that friction visible. And once you can see it, you can start to fix it.